Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending Poetry and Prose. We have a full afternoon of new material for you, and we cannot wait to present and hear riveting feedback and discussion on our pieces. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. I know it's a rainy Sunday. As you all know, I'm Gersha, and I will be chairing the meeting along with Mutilal. All right, so we're going to get started, and we're starting today with Shahira. Shahira, thanks for coming. Please turn on your camera and your mic, and the floor is all yours.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And this afternoon, I have the esteemed pleasure of reading this piece by none other than the man himself, Mr. Motilal Budu Singh. It's entitled Teresa. Let's begin. Part 1. I have known Teresa since she was a little girl. She used to live with her parents and 3 other sisters and a brother not too far from my parents' home. She was the eldest. While they were poor, they had their own home, a small wooden house, which was always well kept. Her father worked repairing roads with the county council, while her mother was a housewife. We started primary school together, and even then, Teresa seemed better prepared than me, for while I kept crying to go back home that first week, Teresa was happy saying her ABCs and repeating her rhymes. I suppose knowing that she was there helped me to adapt to school. While I was a follower, Teresa had her life planned, and when we played at school, at her house, when I was the only pupil, Teresa was always the teacher. With her whip in hand, she would ensure that I learned my ABCs and Jack and Jill. This was natural, as she was always ahead of me in her lessons. She was sure what she wanted to be, while I wavered between becoming a fireman, tractor driver, or policeman as the feeling changed from day to day. Teresa and I would remain in the same class throughout primary school. When Teresa passed her common entrance examination and was placed at the Penal Holy Faith Convent, the entire village rejoiced, as we had become accustomed to children of our village who were successful being assigned to the Penal Junior Secondary. Since she was the only one from our school to gain a place at a prestige school, 7 of the other 20, including me, being relegated to the junior secondary, and the 13 failures, Teresa was celebrated and described as remarkable, outstanding, and likely to succeed. I can still remember feeling jealous as she took her prize as Student of the Year, as I sat in the audience, my ears ringing with my mother's admonition. Why you couldn't pass for a good school like Teresa after all that money I spent for lessons by Miss Pearl? In her acceptance speech, Teresa thanked her teachers and parents and pledged to make them proud as she revealed her dream of becoming a teacher, just like our common entrance teacher, Miss Jean, and returning to teach the children in our poor village. Even I, who felt that she was showing off a bit, felt a lump in my throat. That evening, her father feted the other fathers at the village rum shop. When my mother sent me to call my father home, Mr. Samuel bought me a Pepsi, telling my father, "Never mind the boy pass for junior sec. He still do good." Penal Junior Secondary, being next to Penal Convent, allowed Teresa and me to walk to school together. On many occasions, she would help me with my maths and science, as she seemed to have a better understanding of these subjects than me. She was doing very well at school, while I was merely plodding along. Many evenings, I would go to her home for help with my homework, and her mother would give me a piece of roti and a cup of Milo. She would lend me her library books, and I was introduced to Jane Eyre, Little Woman, Pride and Prejudice, and A Tale of Two Cities, when my previous diet would have been the Williams series by Richmal Crompton and the Biggles Adventure books of Captain W.E. John. My friends at Junior Sec would tease me about Teresa being my girlfriend, but I didn't mind. I felt proud that a brighter girl and one from a so-called better school would be my friend, and to tell the truth, while I was a little bit in love with her, I was also timid around her. At Christmas time and on her birthday, I would send her cards signing them from a secret love. She would tease me saying that she got my card, and I would pretend not to hear. One day, when we were in Form 3 and walking to school together, Teresa told me to go ahead. She was waiting for someone. I soon found out that Gopal, who was attending Naparima College and was in sixth form, was dropping her to school. His father, the village shopkeeper, had bought him a Datsun 1200. I felt sad and maybe a little jealous, as she hardly spoke to me now. I would see them both at school bazaars and village events. Once at the convent's bazaar, where they were walking hand in hand and happened to see me, Gopal told her, "Look, your little boyfriend." I felt my face go red and quickly disappeared in the crowd as I heard their laughter. Soon after, I started to attend the Siparia Senior Secondary, and I hardly ever saw her after this. One day, when I was in Form 5, I heard my mother gossiping with the neighbor. Teresa's father had thrown her out of the house. She had gotten pregnant, and Gopal had left to study medicine in England. In any case, Gopal wouldn't marry she. Them from rich family, She poor, while the neighbor replied, me and too sorry na. She used to play she too good to mix with we children. I wanted to shout at them that that wasn't true, but I wasn't supposed to be listening. I felt a deep sense of grief. I tried to find out where she had gone, but was unsuccessful, and I did not see Teresa again for many, many years. And that's it for me for this particular story, which I really enjoyed reading very much. Great job to the writer. Hope you enjoyed my rendition.
Thank you so much for reading. Please, everyone, you can take off your mics, turn on your cameras. Let's hear some feedback. I always feel for the character in that story. She seemed like a nice girl. And I always wondered what happened to her. Mutilal, are you there? Perhaps you could fill us in on the story and if you perhaps would make it a longer piece someday.
Yes, that's really an extract from a longer story. And I promise next month when we do our open mic, again, I will ask Shakira to read part 2.
Okay.
You could find out. But it's something that happened. The character wasn't exactly me, but I personified the story. It's one of my earlier stories. Thanks.
Did she say that was part 1, Mr. Buru Singh?
Yes, that's part 1. It have a ending again when we find back Teresa.
Don't give it away.
No.
I think every young boy of 12 or 13 could identify with similar situations. So it's quite an engaging narrative.
Lovely. Well, we're going to move on. Mutilal, thank you for sharing such a great piece. We have one message in the chat. Afisha agrees. She just says indeed. So, thank you for sharing. We're going to head on.
So, if I may say something,
Sure.
I still 13, in emotions.
Hello? Hello.
Hi, Vilma.
Hi, I'm having some trouble joining, so I just joined in and I don't know what to do.
That's okay. You know what? You're doing everything you need to do right now. We have you in voice and we can see you on screen. And we're going to allow you to share. I'm going to ask everyone but Vilma to mute their mics. And if you'd like to, turn off your camera just to avoid any distraction. And Vilma, you have the floor. We're delighted to hear you read today.
Okay, so I'm gonna read the whole story. Is it okay?
That's perfectly fine.
Okay. So firstly, I would like to say good afternoon to everybody. I want to express my gratitude to Mr. Motilal Buru Singh for giving me this opportunity to read from my book Breaking Dish and Other Folklore Stories. I hope that everyone who listens to this story will enjoy it. It is entitled The Dumpling Tree. Yeah. Hello.
Hi, we're hearing you. We just muted, so there'd be no other distractions from your reading.
So okay,
we are here. We're hearing you.
Thank you so much. Once upon a time, in a far-off eastern land, a young boy named Sundar lived in a small house near a forest with his parents and siblings. The family was very poor and the food they ate was generally simple. In those times, houses were far apart from each other as well, and so children could not meet often to play together as they would have liked, and brothers and sisters had other more important things to do. In those days also, a toilet was unheard of, not having been invented as yet, and people went into self-designated private areas in the forest to do their daily ablutions and excretions. Sundar was no exception, and he invariably went to his familiar daily spot to relieve himself. He enjoyed picking and eating ripe mangoes and other fruits as he passed through the forest's edges. In the forest, there lived an ugly witch who was said to fly about on a broom looking for human meat to feed herself and her young daughter who lived with her. Sundar was his parents' last child, and most times he was left to play alone and amuse himself. One day, his mother, having very little to cook for the evening meal, made a simple soup out of small dumplings and milk. Sundar ate and enjoyed the milk soup, but a few dumplings remained in the bowl. Ma, I can't eat any more dumplings. I am so full. What to do with them? He asked his mother. Well, son, go and plant them. I can't put them back in the pot, his mother replied, as most mothers do when they have more important things in their mind than their small children's childish remarks. Sundar didn't say another word. He took the bowl and went to the place where he went every morning to relieve himself. He made a small hole in the ground. He put the dumplings in, covered the hole, and said, when I come tomorrow morning, I want to see you spring up, or else I will dig you out, cut you up, and throw you away. Then he went home and he washed the bowl. The next morning, Sundar, on his way to his excretion spot, saw a little plant sprouting from the ground right where he had planted the dumplings the evening before. On his way back, he stopped and poured some leftover water that he had carried to wash himself over the plant, and he said, you are looking good. When I come tomorrow, you must have grown bigger. Otherwise, I will dig you out, cut you up, and throw you away. The following morning, Sundar went to his spot and saw that the tree was obeying all his orders and was indeed growing bigger. He felt pleased, and he poured the water over it, gave the same instruction to grow bigger or else, and sang a jolly song all the way home. One day, he saw that the tree had grown much bigger with lots of branches and full of leaves, just the way he instructed. Tomorrow, you must be full of flowers and bearing little dumplings, or else I will chop you off and throw you away, he said to the tree, and he then went home happily. Next morning, Sundar got off from his bed, and without brushing his teeth or drinking water, he excitedly went off to see the tree. With his eyes open wide, he stared at the little dumplings peeping from the thousands of pretty pink flowers that adorned the tree. Tomorrow, I want to see big dumplings, he said to the tree with a smile, and then he ran off to his forest spot. The next day, there were, sure enough, big dumplings just ready to turn ripe. He said to the tree, tomorrow, I want to see ripe, milky dumplings, and as he watered it once more and left. The morning came, and after a long and restless night for Sundar, he had tossed and turned during the night so many times that his siblings had to slap him a few times for him to stay put. Great were his amazement and pleasure when he saw the pretty white dumplings dripping with milk, dazzling his eyes in the early morning sunlight. He lost no time in climbing up the tree, settling himself comfortably on a wide branch, and started picking and eating the very delicious dumplings that he could easily reach. He did the same thing every morning for the next few days until one day the witch happened to be flying by. Her eyes opened wide, saliva dripping from her mouth as she saw the boy sitting on the branch of the tree, his long hair glistening gold in the sun. Aha, she thought, food! But she was not looking at the dumplings. It was Sundar she was contemplating as her expected tasty evening meal. She came down to the ground and called out to Sundar. Good morning, little boy, said the witch. Good morning, replied Sundar, not paying much attention to her. Those dumplings are looking very delicious. Can I have some? I am very hungry. Yes, sure, said Sundar. I will throw down some for you. Open your hands. Oh no, don't throw them. They will taste catch, the wily witch said. Okay then, open your orhini. An orhini is a veil, right, that she had on her head. I will throw some in there. Oh no, no, she said, even more horrified. They will taste orni. The witch was getting desperate, and she felt the boy would never come down so that she could catch hold of his hand. As long as Sundar was in the tree, she could not take him. So she made one more appeal to him to please come down and bring some for her in his hands. And innocent Sundar, not knowing that she was a witch, came down at last and handed her some dumplings. She grabbed his hands, and he was unable to free himself. The dumplings fell on the ground unheeded, as the wicked witch began to laugh loudly, saying, Aha, I'm going to have human for supper today. When Sundar realized what was happening, he shouted for help, but no one was nearby to hear him. The witch sped off with him on her broom towards the dense forest. As soon as the witch reached the house, she flung Sundar on the ground. Here, Betty, the Betty means daughter, right? I have bought food for us today, a nice young human boy. You can cook him while I go down to the river to take a bath and to sharpen my teeth, she said to her daughter, who had just come outside. And away flew the witch in eager anticipation of her delicious evening meal. Sundar, still in shock with all that had happened to him since morning, stared at the young girl. The girl also stared at Sundar. He looked very handsome with his long golden shiny hair. She wanted to know how he had such beautiful hair. So every day since I was a small child, my mother puts my hair on a pestle and beats it with a mortar. This is how it looks so, he said to her, thinking quickly about saving himself. The young witch opened her eyes wide. Really? Well, can you do that to me? Can you? Can you? I would really like my hair to look like that. We have a mortar and a pestle right here, she replied. Oh, yes, said Sundar, I can do that. I hope it wouldn't take long, said the girl. Mama will come back very soon and I must cook you up before she gets back. Don't worry, said Sundar. I will be done long before you blink twice. The girl brought out the mortar and a pestle and put her head on the mortar with her hair spread out. Sundar took the pestle and hit her on her head with all his strength. He knew somewhere in his head that he had only this one chance of saving himself. He was not happy at what he had to do, but he knew that if it were not her, it would be him that the witch would be dining on that night. He then quickly took off the girl's clothes and put them on himself. He rubbed soot from the fireplace all over his body and especially his hair. He next cut up the girl's body into small pieces, roasted them nicely, and sat around waiting for the witch to return. Soon the sound of the broom was heard as the witch flew through the air with great speed. Betty, she said as she put the broom down, have you finished cooking? The pot is smelling good. She licked her lips in anticipation. Bring some for me. My teeth are well sharpened so I can chew up all the bones too. Sundar bought a huge basin with the meat for the witch. She ate up everything and drank a huge bottle of rum. Then she fell asleep. As soon as Sundar saw her fall asleep and heard her snoring loudly, he took off the young witch's clothes and put them on the ground right next to her mother and ran off as quickly as he could back to his house. He passed the dumpling tree like lightning and did not stop to pick even one. After many hours had passed and the witch woke up, she called out to her daughter, Betty? There was no answer, and she called again, louder this time. Still no one answered. As she began looking around, she saw her daughter's clothes on the ground. She figured out what had happened. She started to loudly lament and say, Oh God, I ate my own Betty. As for Sundar, he never went back to the dumpling tree. He started going elsewhere to do his morning rituals and eliminations. The end. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing. What a story. So that is certainly a children's story.
More or less, but scary one too.
Yes. Any thoughts or comments? Feel free to unmute and share. I just have one thought. I liked how you didn't explain that the children all slept in the same bed, but by you reading the line of them having to slap him, the reader understood without being told or shown that they share the bed. And so that I really enjoyed that. And the magical tree, I kept waiting for this magical tree to either do something or for the dumplings to do something. But nothing really came of that magical tree.
Mhm.
So those are my comments.
Thank you.
That was a lovely story, you know, and for everybody, this is, you've seen it yet? This is a book.
Yes.
This is a book. This is Wilma's book. Now, proud to say Wilma went to the same school like me. She was about 2 years after me.
Yeah.
It was a lovely story, you know.
Thank you.
I wish I had known you when we was doing our Halloween session. This would have fit in nicely. Lovely story, Wilma. Thanks for
yeah.
coming, and hope you join us every 2 weeks. I would send an invitation to you.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
And
Mr.
Vilma,
Wilson.
is it all children's story in the book, or was that one in particular just a children's story?
More or less children's stories, more or less.
Lovely,
Yes.
lovely. Any other comments?
Well, I'm trying to write another book, but I'm telling you, I have, what do you call it? Writers something.
Right.
When you can't.
Writer's block, they say.
Writer's
Writer's block.
block. So I'm done. And I've finished 3 of them, but I'm trying to do the 4th one, and I just can't go near the computer right now. But what I can do, I can print the 3 stories that I have, personally print, and I can probably read them at another session.
We would love to
Or-
hear. We would love to hear. We love to hear your feedback as well. So
Yes.
any feedback you can give us, especially during our open mic sessions like this.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Thanks for sharing.
Bless you all.
Okay, I want to jump in. I'm just trying to figure out where exactly to jump in. I've been working on a piece, but it has a lot of swear words. So I'm going to give my disclaimer and then we'll move on to Krishna, and I'll let everyone post in the group if they don't mind me reading or not. So it's very adult oriented. I don't know if you guys have little kids in the room or not. So let me know. So rated R for swear words. And Krishna, I will pass it along to you. I'm gonna ask everyone to mute, and if you can, take off your cameras just to avoid any distractions. And Krishna, if you're there, we're gonna hand the floor over to you.
I thought you were going on now in English.
Well, I want everyone to kind of, if they have kids in the room, or you know, if they're really offended and they don't want to hear it, let me know, because I can
Yeah,
always
that's good.
skip
That's
myself.
good that you asked. That's good that you asked. Yes, that's nice.
Okay, so you've got the
Okay,
floor, Krishna.
So I am next. All right. Okay. Just indulge me with a little preamble here. In 2021, Pleasantville celebrated 45 years as a public educational institution. To commemorate the event, I wrote a book entitled Posted to Teach, 350 pages in 3 parts. The first part, I traced the first 45 years of the school, 1976 to 2021. The second part, I inserted 27 staff tributes I did to members who retired. I honored teaching and civil servants. And the third part, I inserted 16 valedictory scripts, which when I was teacher in charge of the valedictory speech, These scripts were turned into dramatic performances by my good friend, he's no longer with us, Louis Regis, Calypso expert. So the school boasts quite an illustrious alumni with names like Jessime Vento, Laura Dorich, Nicola Barreto of Media, Rupal Gidari, Penelope Spencer, Roger Henry, who conducts the choir, the national choir, Shuma Andrews, an international songster, Darren Shepherd of Fontclair fame, Liam Teague, an ace Spanish, Keston Bledman, an Olympic gold medalist from the 2008 Beijing Olympics, Kiran Singh, president of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, and of course, the redoubtable Anand Ram Logan. So there were quite a number of people coming out of Pleasantville. We fielded it in many occupations. And it gave the school an enviable reputation in terms of academics. We had 24 scholarships and one open. The one open was done by Natalie Karamat of Karamat Roti Shop on Copy Street. Drama and other performing arts like dance and so on. We excelled. Sports. So in brief, there is a great story to tell about the school, Pleasantville. So let me tell you the story of Pleasantville Secondary School. I will tell it in plain and simple language, though its tale is a highly complex one. I will narrate each event as I know it, as I saw it unfold. Let me reiterate, I will keep it simple and straightforward. Now, anyone who has been to Pleasantville can tell its story from his or her angle. This is my angle, my lens. Some things will be blurred out, some brought into sharp focus. For 35 years, I was at Peeville. That is more than half my life. What I saw unfolded in those years convinced me that I was in no ordinary school. And as one harboring highbrow ambitions of being a writer, as all of us, perhaps it was fate, that sent me there so that I could record for all posterity the magic that occurred in that school. In the summer of '79, I was posted to teach at Pleasantville Senior Comprehensive School. Where is that? I asked the young, rookie-looking, short female clerk at the office of the Ministry of Education at Alexandra Street, St. Clair, then. She it was who had told of the vacancy there. South was the crisp, clipped reply. Now, the week before, at that same Ministry of Education, I had been offered a post at St. Francois Girls College, which was in St. Francois Valley Road, within walking distance of where I lived in Bella Road, Belmont. I was told that I would be the school's first male teacher, and that adjustments would be made, washroom facilities, of course, to accommodate that history-making move. I warmed to the idea of creating history in the only all-girls government secondary school in our Twin Islands state. When I was called to pick up the letter of assumption of duties, however, I was informed that the place had been given to a scholarship returnee. Boy, my history-making endeavor was shelved. That was when I was told about the vacancy at Pleasantville. Is it a pleasant place? I joked. Very, replied the junior female clerk. I took the letter. That weekend, I took a taxi to South, then another to Pleasantville, and landed plumb in front of the school gate. I was given permission to roam about the compound, which I did. Leaning at one point on the railing of the corridor of the second floor blocky, I wondered what the hell I would be doing there, so far away from surroundings with which I was familiar. Now, when school opened on the 3rd of September, I took the bus to San Fernando. This bus I jumped on had to go all the way from Port of Spain on the Eastern Main Road to Curragh before it angled right to head for the old Southern Main Road. To board that bus, I had to jostle with passengers whose destinations were at various drop-off points along the east-west corridor. It turned out I had hopped on the wrong bus. To return to Port of Spain, I took the bus at King's Wharf at the bottom of High Street. By the time I reached home in Belmont, it was already dark. Whether I had taken the right bus or the wrong bus, I still left Belmont in the dark, and I returned from San Fernando in the dark. Darkened wood. I applied for a transfer immediately. A missive of some 3 pages of legal-sized paper. Mr. Cyril Stewart, who was the acting principal, took pity on me after thoroughly reading and signing the transfer request. He was commuting from Diego Martin in his old broken-down white Cortina. He offered to give me a lift on afternoons when he left for Diego. I accepted the offer. I didn't bargain for the full load of fellow Northerners he transported in the persons of Miss Warren, Miss Gajada, and Mr. Boisson, all from the garment construction side of the home ec department. It was not once his car stalled on the way to Port of Spain. Once the radiator overheated. Another time it was the distributor cap that needed cleaning. But I was grateful. After all, I was riding with the principal. Once he went to the hospital in San Fernando. The principal carried us to visit a Mr. Lambert, the teacher of electronics, who I learned had suffered a stroke. Another time, he stopped off by a distant relative. I think it was off the newly constructed San Fernando bypass somewhere. But to tell the truth, I can't pin down the exact location in that remote memory of mine. I know they were having drinks in the gallery of a two-storied house. Christmas was approaching, as it is approaching now. Mr. Stewart asked what I would like to drink. I asked if they had carob. You have to move up, man, Mr. Stewart said, sucking his teeth and chastising me. Time for you to be drinking scotch. He's a teacher, you know. I drank the scotch to celebrate my advancement in society. It tasted horribly. Nothing to beat back a beastly cold carob, I thought. Miss Gajada quietly advised that I should give the principal a little something at the end of the month, you know. When I did offer, he dismissed it. I was glad to pocket the money. This teaching wasn't paying much. When Miss Richards joined the home ec department, we dumped the principal and his Cortina to ride with Miss Richards and her brand new lime green Toyota. But she didn't decline the offer of money. She seemed to look forward to getting it from us. But she was a good soul and a sharp driver. Plus, we never had to get out and give her a push, as we sometimes had to do with a broken down PU Cortina and getting toxic fumes all over our faces when the car sputtered and sputtered before the engine could eventually get going. I worked feverishly on getting my driver's license. When I did the test, the big burly African licensing inspector and I waited in the car in the parking lot of the licensing department on Wrightson Road. He was examining the paper he had on his clipboard. I didn't budge. I knew the routine. The long sheet listed a number of reasons why someone on a driving test could not pass the test. Nervousness was one. He was nervous, you know, he said. Yes, I know, I said. We were both sweating from the afternoon heat. He was watching me, I was watching him. He was very nervous, you know, he repeated. I had to think of something. His ballpoint pen was itching to put the dreaded X. A teaching quite down south and, oh, he's a teacher. He put a big tick, man. And that was how, I swear, I got my driving permit. All I needed now was a car. My uncle had an Austin Mini that he wanted to get rid of. I borrowed money from a cousin and my brother who negotiated the deal. I got the car for $3,000. PU 2554. I was 25 years. I was born in 54. Hence, I suppose I was fated to have that Mini. The days when Miss Richards was absent, that's the one with the Corolla, Her passengers gleefully stormed my Mini. Miss Jack, a newcomer, who was from the business studies department, weighed a ton. She took the passenger seat in the front. It was hell trying to keep the steering straight with Miss Jack in the car. And those were the days when the Uriah Butler Highway wasn't dreamed of as yet. We had to negotiate our way on the two-way traffic of the busy Princess Margaret Highway. Thankfully, mercifully rather, those North Base passengers all got early transfers. I was especially glad when I learned that Miss Jack had hers come through. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Krishna. I loved the way it was written, especially the conversational aspect of the narrator. I really enjoyed that. It just
Yeah.
allowed the story, in my mind, to flow. And I enjoyed the historical pieces that you were able to fit in there. Naming the cause, for example, it really gave the story a picture. It made the picture come alive, and the Princess Margaret Highway.
Yeah.
Because those of us that never knew it as the Princess Margaret Highway, really made me stop. What? So thank you so much for
Okay.
that.
Right.
Really.
Thank you.
Great
Any other
story,
comments?
Krishan. Great memories.
Yeah.
Yes, I like how you what it is. Really great memories. You know, one of my teachers at Modsec, he was principal at Pleasantville for a while. Roll Amy.
Roll Amy, yes. Yes.
He was
Yes, correct.
a teacher at Modsec when I was there, which might be a few years before you because I finished high school in '68.
And you know, there is a chapter on Roll Amy in this book,
Yes.
right? Which you read
Yes,
at an earlier time.
yes, you sent it to me.
Yes.
Okay, lovely story, Krish, and thanks for being here. Go ahead, Krish.
Okay.
Any other comment?
Any other comments?
Yes, I really enjoyed it, Krishna. Very beautifully written and rendered. And the content, of course, out of this world because, well, I learned a lot of things, including the fact that you're 5 years my junior. That's all right. That could work. And I lived in Belmont, of course.
Yes, yes. I know
Just
you
like
would,
you in
I know you
Belarus.
would know about the Belmont setting, yes.
Yeah, and I used to work in the Carnegie Free Library
Uh-huh.
in San Fernando, and that was in the 70s, so that was around 72 or 70 something.
Oh, so you had to do your commuting yourself.
I had a car too.
Oh, you had to look.
What did you
Yeah, I
do,
had a car too.
Cassie?
Anyway, what I'm saying all of that is because it kind of encouraged me to take a look at these things and write some stories,
Yeah.
write some stories just like you and others and Mutilal and others are doing. So maybe I'll do that one of these days. So I'm encouraged. So
Okay.
thanks a lot there.
Cassie,
Okay.
I'm
Thanks a lot.
curious. What did you drive?
Oh, mine was a Hillman, yeah.
Hillman
PH, yeah, PH 1118.
I intend to look up these cars so I can see what
H.
they look like.
Hillman Minx, a nice looking car.
Yeah, nice, very good car. PH 1118.
Yeah.
Okay, Gush, I will send you some pictures of all the classic cars that I have and had, and some other classic cars from museum in London. I'll send the pictures for you. But
Lovely. We'll post them on the page.
yes, Casino, I'm glad to hear that you was working in San Fernando Library because at one time I was telling the people there that I started that at Carnegie Library in San Fernando in 1963 when I started high school, and I still have my library card. I still go to the library and I still borrow books, but of course you could use the card anyway now. So I am a regular at the Davie Library.
Okay then. Good.
You must have had more here at that time because Can't remember that face.
Yeah, yeah, I had mohair, and we used to wear mohair pants too.
Okay.
And you know
That's
what's funny? I got my La Library card when I moved back at the San Fernando Library, library corner, because I worked in San Fernando. So I was able to get my library card at San Fernando Library. Afisha says, we're happy to have you at Debe Mutilal. I wanted to ask Vishnu, Krishna, sorry, one question. When you guys stopped driving with the principal, there was nothing in the story really saying how he reacted or if, you know.
No, well, it's not a story. That is just the start of the writing on the book. This is the book here, Posted to Teach. So the book is really about the school. And the first part, I said I traced the first 45 years of the school in this narrative form.
Lovely.
But there's a lot of expository material. Good?
Lovely.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I met him the other day at Twin City Mall. And it was nice to meet up with him. But I didn't ask him what he was driving now. Probably a Mercedes Benz.
Nice. It was lovely of him though.
And just now, the interesting thing about him is that he was the brother of Van Stewart. Cassie, Van Stewart was president of the Writers Union of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Cassie, you remember Van Stewart?
Chris, wasn't he principal of QRC also?
Cassie, you're muted.
Yes, yes. Van Stewart was the principal of QRC. Correct. That's the guy. So it's his brother was acting principal at Pleasantville. That is after Mr. Gardner left.
Okay.
Patton Gardner.
Yeah, I was in the Writers Union when Bancher was president.
Yes, I was just going to remind of that.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Van Stewart, man. Deceased.
Yes, deceased.
Lovely. Lovely. All right. Well, we're going to move on ahead. Thanks so much, Krishna. It was delightful.
Thank you. Good.
I'm going to ask everyone to mute. I haven't received any objections to reading my story. So the premise of the story is just that it's written, the timeline I'm still really working on. It's relatively new. I wrote it, I didn't finish it as yet, still very much in the process. But I wrote the beginning. So I'm just sharing that piece with you guys.
Okay, what thing goes, Afisha want to leave soon, so
Okay, so I will let Afisha go before me. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
Afisha?
Hi, afternoon.
Hi.
Afternoon,
Good
Miss Marvin.
afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Of
Right,
course,
so I'm
no
going to
problem.
give you the floor. Just 1 minute.
Thank
Your
you.
camera isn't on, so I can't spotlight you. But go ahead. I'm going to ask for everyone to just mute, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so I'm Afisha Taylor from the Daily Public Library, and I'll be doing a piece that was written by none other than Mr. Motilal Singh, and it's entitled, "And They Lived Happily Ever After, the End." A very famous line, right? As children, we learn from fairy tales of princes and princesses, castles and fortunes, true love, and most of all, of marriage as the perfect ending. Fairy tales have been told to children as long as anyone can remember. Indeed, the word "once upon a time" invoke a sense of long, long ago. This introduction should in itself tell that the ensuing story is pure fantasy. However, at the impressionable age of the child, it can nurture unrealistic expectations. By the time "and they live happily ever after" is reached, the brainwashing is complete. Being young and naive and full of imagination, one is led to believe that this is what the future holds and that marriage is the happy high point in one's life. I will discuss how the expectations of marriage can impact on society as they are espoused in fairy tales. Let us examine a typical fairy tale. The hero's journey begins in a small village where some disaster has occurred. He goes on a quest to get help for his community. He meets a wise magician who gives him a weapon or boon he can use in his quest. He meets a princess or a damsel in distress trapped in a dungeon. He uses his boon to overcome her captors, and her grateful father rewards him with great wealth. He marries the princess, returns to his village with his new bride and riches, and saves his village from hardship. He is hailed as a hero, and with his new wife lives happily ever after. Yes. These stories can be easy for young people to identify with. They can be seen as coming of age stories, as they are similar to what most of us go through life. We first stay at our parents' home, then we go on a quest to earn money and finally meet our companions. Therefore, we should live happily ever after. Thus, these tales, which imitate life, should be a healthy medium to teach life lessons to the young. However, the messages that one can acquire wealth by magic and that help is easily available to a young man seeking to make his way in life can prove to be a delusion. Conditioned by such beliefs, when confronted by the realities of life, one is rudely awakened from one's fairy tale world. And what of the young girl, we may ask? Young girls grow up on fairy tales like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White. They grow up dreaming of a world where a prince will take them away to a magic palace and they will live happily ever after. In fairy tales, the woman is less liberated as in today's world. She is often trapped in a dungeon or locked up in a castle until a prince or a hero frees her. In today's world, however, a girl is expected to embark on a similar journey as a boy to study, travel, and pursue a career. Fairy tales, therefore, can engender a mindset that would seriously impede a young woman's growth. As we grow up, are we ever weaned from fairy tales? I will briefly examine a classic book that treats with love and marriage and is recommended as a must read for young readers. In the book Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bront, the author espouses marriage as a form of economic as well as sexual exchange in which there is the fairy tale ending. While Bront espouses marriage as a form of such. In the book, however, after many trials and tribulations, Jane and Rochester are reunited. He regains his health and his sight. A child is born, and domestic bliss abounds in their lives. Children and young girls in particular are brought up on a diet of fairy tales. Cinderella, Snow White, and the Sleeping Beauty all had their princes rescuing them and taking them to a life of perpetual bliss. As they grow older and their tastes demand more wholesome food, they begin a diet of romantic novels, which further fuels their expectations. In these, they find a fantasy world where women are loved and protected by handsome providers and everything is done for love. Reading these novels can program them to develop unrealistic expectations about love and marriage. What really happens after the honeymoon? Relationship problems that do not exist in fairy tales begin to rear their ugly heads. Let us examine some of these problems. Money is one of the main factors that affect marriages. In fairy tales, the hero often is a prince or someone who comes into a lot of riches. Money problems can start even before the wedding vows are set. The cost of a wedding can be high because most brides usually want an elaborate fairy tale affair. After the wedding, monthly bills, food, rent, and other living expenses all add up. One who has been brought up to expect the man to handle all expenses might become resentful when she realizes that she is expected to contribute to the running of the home. In fairy tales and romantic stories, they are usually servants to carry out household chores. Very few princesses are ready to handle cleaning, cooking, washing, and ironing. When the baby comes, and this is supposed to be the epitome of happiness for the couple, it also brings additional duties which the wife has to do. We are conditioned to believe that a man's duty is to go on quests, that is, earn money, and thus are reluctant to share in household duties. Resentment sets in, and the happily ever after theme begins to deteriorate. Even partners who love each other can be sexually incompatible. Sex seems to be a topic that is greatly ignored in the formative years of young people and in classic literature aimed at them. While good sex can help bring a couple closer and help them to cope with other difficulties, sexual incompatibility can be disastrous. Do we want to change our partners to the princes and princesses of our dreams? Such unrealistic expectations can be the cancer of marriages and lead to happily ever after turning to hateful ever after. We should remember that marriage is not always a happily ever after story. Most of the time, it is just once upon a time. Your marriage depends on the kind of person you are and your willingness to make adjustments and compromises with your partner. Sometimes you will have to make changes, sometimes drastic ones, before you can live happily ever after. The end.
Lovely, lovely. Any comments? Thank you.
I must say, being the reader, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you, Mr. Bulisi.
Any other comments? Please unmute and share.
Hey, Afisha. Are you hearing me?
Yes, hi, Shahira. Sorry, I just forgot to unmute there.
Yes. I would like to tell you what an excellent read.
Thank you, thank you. I know you have a niche for the same genre as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Glad to hear you enjoyed it.
I like the analysis, of how those colonial stories influenced the thinking of young readers and
Yes.
young people in general over time, and the juxtaposition with what the reality is. It does that in a very a very open manner, you know, in the sense that we can still appreciate the writing for what it is
Yeah.
now, today, and yet know what it has done to the minds of many of us, you know, where we have expectations that are really unrealistic,
Unrealistic.
you know.
Yeah.
You know, so many examples on different levels that we got there. So I in total praise for that piece of work there. Well done, excellent.
Yes. Thank you. All praise to Mr. Budu Singh. That's the messenger.
I love it. Thank you so much. Mutilal, any comments?
Okay, that's an extract from a longer piece. You know, so, maybe we could do another piece some other time. But especially choose a Fisher to do that piece for me. Thanks, Fisher.
You're welcome. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay, Gusha, let's move right along.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
I just wanted to ask if in choosing a Fisher, if Mr. Budu Singh was hoping, Mutila was hoping that she would not fall into the trap. Mutila?
Muti, a response?
Yeah, actually, I choose a Fisher because I know her on the library, and usually we talk about her children and her family and all that. And I've met her husband, and I know that she is indeed in a happily ever after marriage.
We're halfway through our content, so thanks for giving me the time. We're going to move on now to Vishnu. Vishnu,
Yes, I'm here.
thank you for being here. I would like to give you the floor. If you'd like to turn on your mic, kindly, your camera, kindly do so. There you go. And thanks for allowing me to jump in ahead of you. Your mic is off.
Is that okay?
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you so much. And I'm going to hand the floor over to you.
Okay, I'm going to read an extract from this short novel, The Land Below, by R.T. Gosain. And I'm going to read chapter 1. It doesn't have any colorful language. So chapter 1 of a small book, actually. Just past the fish, I'm so hungry, Carlos pleaded with his brother, who was sitting near the fire but a short distance from him. Pedro picked up a fish from the fire and tossed it to him. The fish was very hot, but Carlos caught it expertly in his big, tough hands and immediately bit into it. Ah, this is so good, he said, while he chewed on the hot fish. After a few more bites, the fish was devoured. All that remained was the middle bone and tail, which he tossed over his shoulder into the corner of the cave. The cave was their home. The fire in the middle burnt all day, keeping it warm and inhabitable. Mama had hung curtains which divided the cave into their living and sleeping quarters, although most nights Pedro and Carlos preferred to sleep in the open, close to the fire. One corner was piled high with harvested crops like corn, sweet potatoes, and carrots. Mama swept and tidied the cave at least twice a day. She refused to live in a messy cave. You throw your mess everywhere, his brother chastised him, but Carlos paid him no mind, reaching into the fire for another fish. I could do with some of the potatoes we harvested today. Toss some into the fire, brother. You eat too much, son, said his mother, as she took a seat by the fire. These potatoes have to go into storage. Why? Asked Carlos, his mouth full of fish. We can grow potatoes all year round down here. Grandfather used to do it. Yes, but that is all he grew. Do you want to eat fish and potatoes every day? We have to grow other things, his mother said. And we need to start hunting for more materials for weapons, said Pedro. I don't see why we need weapons, Carlos said, leaning back and looking from his brother to his mother. We are giants. No one can harm us. These are changing times, son, she replied softly. The world above us is unpredictable. We have to be prepared. Their mother rose from the rock on which she was sitting. Don't forget you have to help me plant the corn seeds today. So hurry up with your breakfast. Ah, Mama, do we have to do that today? Pedro whined. Pedro, with your big hands, we'll be finished in no time. 5 more minutes and then meet me in the cornfield. As big as they were, the brothers did not dare disobey their mother. When they arrived at the cornfields, many of the other families of giants were already there. Some were toiling the mineral-rich soil, while others were trying to delicately place the corn seeds into the holes. Each corn seed looked like a speck of dust when held between your forefinger and thumb. Well, it seemed as though they got everything covered, Pedro said to his brother, slapping him on his back as they watched everyone hard at work. Yes, it looks so. I guess we were too late, Carlos said, feigning disappointment. I guess we should head to the beach then. Sounds like a good idea. The brothers tried to slip away before their mother could see them, but they underestimated her. And where do you think you are going? Said a sharp voice, loud enough for even the furthest worker to hear. The boys slowly turned around, knowing that they were in trouble now. Well, Mama, it seemed like everything was going well here and we weren't needed. The mother's face immediately changed to red as she reached and pulled each son's hair. We are all working hard to plant the land and you want to sneak off and go and have fun? Sorry, Mama, Carlos muttered, trying to calm her while Pedro nodded in agreement. Don't sorry, Mama, me. Her face was redder and redder. You know we all work together here, down here, to make sure we have food? Yes, Mama. Yes, Mama. The giants had lived under the Earth's surface in a system of interconnecting caves for centuries. Their history was carved on the cave walls in the language and drawings of the ancient giants, and their story handed down from generation to generation. Over the years, the stories changed slightly, but one thing was clear. These giants had always enjoyed a peaceful existence in their little piece of the earth. Thank you. So that's an extract, actually chapter 1, short chapter from The Land Below. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for reading. And Mutilal wrote, The Land Below is a novel by Vishnu's daughter. Congratulations, Vishnu. And she has been shortlisted for the Bocas Lit Prize for Young Adult Fiction. Quite an accomplishment. Any comments?
So you said what I was going to say, so thanks.
Actually,
I just read what you wrote in the chat.
I acquired a copy of that book. It came through Amazon. And I wrote a review on Amazon of it. It was very well written. And there was more showing than telling, which was quite a something I enjoyed tremendously in reading the book. It it was quite engaging.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, but yeah, I have a question, which I hope will not be found as a silly question, but what was the story about? If you could tell me.
It's a Brazilian tale that she put into a story. It's about giants living underground. Actually, it's about clash of culture. Actually, too, is about parents having control over the children. This is as a critic, I see it as, and the kids are listening to their parents. It's about intruders into our land and wanting to take over. I think it has something, a little touch of the Amazon forest. I think she had little hints there. Remember the children's story? They couldn't develop too much into it.
Okay.
At the end of it is about boy and girl, not boy and girl relationship, but a girl trying to find her place in a tribe when it's always a man's world. I think that was to me as a, not as a father, but as a critic then. And as the emerging woman, that's what I saw it. And I told her at the end of the book, I said, that's what I saw it as. Maybe you see differently, but that's how I saw it. That the girls are moving out of the system where you're engaging and they want to find their peace.
Okay. Well, I just have a follow-up question. It would be my last question. Based on what you were just saying there. Is it that the mother in the story was going out of her style and she was going out of style, out of sync, and therefore the girl having to find a new path, as it were?
No.
I don't know if you understand my question there. It's just based on what you were telling me about the girl having to find her way. But there seems to have been a very dominant, strict kind of mommy inside there.
It wasn't mommy, it was a tribe. The tribe itself, that the girls had no place except to go and play with the children, make beads with them, carry them over to bed. And she was just tired of doing that kind of thing. She wanted to do something else, something that the men were doing. Basically, well, the book didn't say to lead, but I got the impression that she wanted to lead it. And she tried to do other things, until that's how she escaped and she found the giants. She wandered off one night and she stumbled upon the giants, and that helped her to find herself in a sense. In other words, she found a challenge that the men didn't take up, and she took it.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I hope you share our feedback with her. And
yes,
it's good to know we can get it on Amazon. I'm going to move on to Shahira again. And she's going to be reading Zorina's piece. Zorina couldn't be with us today. Thank you so much, Shahira.
Hello, everyone. Here I am again. And this time I will be reading this piece written by Zorina Shah. And it's entitled A Dark Night in Matelot. Let's begin. I didn't know what blackness of the environment was until I went to Matelot, the village where the road ended on the north coast, going west from Toko, a village trapped between the Caribbean Sea and the Northern Range, with electricity maybe 4 days for the month, if so many. There was no moon that night. As the lights went out at the school, we headed in different directions. Some of the students went up the hill, others on below road along the coastline. They had each other for company. I was heading north, all alone. I could not see anything, not the sea and not the mountains. I stood still for about 4 minutes and thought I saw a white line, the one that is painted in the middle of the road. I will follow that line and it will take me to where I was going. I was doing well, as it was indeed a white line. Until, that is, my left foot found the edge of the road. I was going downhill towards the ocean. Fast, real fast. Something, a hand, grabbed my ankle and steadied me. Thank you. No response. Thank you again. I pressed against the hand, not a large one, clutched the earth above me and moved up, still not seeing anything. No sea, no mountain, no fishing boat in the distance, perhaps some flickers from Tobago. I couldn't really tell. I looked back to where I knew the land protruded to a rock, the beacon. That too was black because, well, it was just black. I eased my way up through the road, grabbing clumps of earth, counting the steps. 7, 8, 9. I had fallen far. 13, and I was able to stand again. I stood still for another few minutes, saw where the white line started again, moved 2 paces to the right, and walked to the house. The stark white wall helped. I moved further to the community center, lay flat on the steps and dozed. It was still early. I did not know what time I woke up. I thought I saw a candle from Miss Fanny's house. It wasn't there when I had reached home. I made my way into the little cottage someone had once called a cowshed and lay on the bed. A flash of light. Ah, electricity had returned. But this was Matalat. A false alarm. There was a loud thud as a coconut dropped from a tree near my window. I will look for that fruit in the morning. At the same time, something wet touched my leg. I slapped away at the wood lizard that had fallen from the ceiling. Checky check, we called it. I could not sleep. Matalat may have had little electricity, but there was plenty water. I washed my legs where the lizard had hit it. I wouldn't shower. If I did, then sleep will never come. The electricity had not returned by morning, but the sunshine compensated. Brilliant, lighting up the entire house. As I dressed, I saw the mark on my right leg, big, about 3 centimeters in diameter, blue, an ugly blue mark. That was not a checky check. I looked outside for the coconut. There was nothing on the ground. Maybe someone had beaten me to it. Everything in Matalat was communal property. Down in the village, school children were still milling around Mr. James' shop, eating their pies, drinking from cans. They would be late for school. It was already 8:30. They still had to walk along Below Road, cross the river, and climb the hill to the high school. The nearby primary school, where classes were conducted last night, was already in session. The roads were soon clear. I told Mr. James my story. He had the answer. Oh, that is a sukuya. Surely he was joking. I had been coming to Matalat for years. I had never even heard the word sukuya. Not Mr. James. He didn't joke too much about anything. What time was that? About 2:30 to 3 a.m. I really couldn't be sure, but thought I would make a good guess. Well, that is one from nearby. If she had come from Grand Riviere, she would be here an hour earlier at least, because she has to fly back home. I asked Mr. James if there were any sukuyas in the village or in St. Helena village, a short distance away. He looked kind of blank. He did not really speak about people. He was a kind man, practical, and not given to gossip. I saw him looking in the direction uphill, on the road where some of the children had dispersed last night. She flounced. Her dress swirled around her, the flowers crashing against each other, the colors mesmerizing. Her black shoes reflected the sunlight. I do not believe they were highly polished, so it may have been a cheaper material. Her hat brimmed and shaded her face. I couldn't really see what she looked like. Then she was standing next to me. Her deep black eyes held mine, but I found the strength to look away. I had never seen this woman before. Good morning, Zorina. I see you are okay. Her voice had a little rasp and then some honey. She could have been more than 70 years old. Why wouldn't I be okay? I replied. She seemed a little disappointed. It was as if she expected me to know, to show gratitude. She had saved my life. I had already deprived her of the full payment. The least I could do was be gracious. And that's it for me on today's episode of Poetry and Prose. And I really hope you all did enjoy this really sort of scary, interesting, dramatic story. Any comments?
Thank you so much. Yes, let's certainly open the floor for comments. I really enjoyed the story, and yes, it was quite spooky to me.
Okay, that story is by Zorina Shah, and Zorina couldn't make it today because she said that she flooded out and was doing some cleaning up. So I asked Shahira to read, and Shahira did a wonderful job. Thank you, Shahira.
Thank you.
Okay, Gushan, let's
Okay, we're gonna move along to Harry.
Okay, and after Harry, bring in Cassie and
Yeah.
Frank. I would hold up for today because
Okay, no problem.
I can read next time, you know, it's not, since it's almost time, I can put it off for next time.
Frank, you gotta have about 10 minutes, man. Okay, because I read every week, so go ahead. And in any case, two of my stories was already read, so I'll give you my spot.
Okay, so we'll go Harry, Cassie, and we'll finish off with Frank. Harry Chiron. Is he not here? Oh yeah, he is. I'm seeing his name. Harry, kindly unmute and turn on your camera.
Tell me if you're hearing me.
I'm
please.
hearing you, not seeing you though.
I am hearing you very faint. Shall I read now?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
Harry, hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone again. Gersha, I believe you outdid everyone with that piece. And today I shall read from my brand new book, The Big Fisherman, a Mayaro love story. So I'm reading from page 123, chapter 18, A Monkey for Mama Zulu. About a week later, I had made good recovery and health was back to almost normal. Good food, fish broth, vitamins, oranges, bananas, beetroot, carrots, coconut water, rest, and love were the ingredients for my recovery. Kathy was overjoyed as her love life was in high gear again. I began to drive and took the captains, Bigfoot and Carter, to the boats to make the tide. I had asked the captains whether they knew of anyone with a small monkey, and they told me of an old woman who caught and reared them. Maybe she had one for sale. I went in search of Dora, the monkey woman, so everyone called her. She lived at Grand Lagoon and hunted all by herself. Dora had told a story of how she was lost while hunting alone and spent the night in the dense jungle. Indeed, she was afraid, but kept on walking until she arrived in Pinal, hungry and with mosquito bites all over her body. She hitchhiked rides until she reached Mayaro. I called out and she emerged from her home, a cigarette between her lips with an unsteady gait. She said, "Is you Mr. Peter? What you doing here?" "I am looking for you and a monkey," I said. "Well," said Dora, "you could take me. I look like a monkey." We burst out in laughter. Dora was reeking of alcohol and staggering. She asked, "Mr. Peter, you really want a monkey?" "Yes, sure," I said. "That's why I am here." "Well," said Dora, "I have one small little one for sale, but that will cost you $100 plus $25 for the cage and a nip of punch and rum for me and a pack of cigarettes for me and the old man." "Dora, let me see the monkey first." "Sure, why not?" said Dora. "Come." She led the way to the back of her home. Dora virtually had a small menagerie. Several monkeys, 2 agoutis, a lap, several birds, a baby alligator, a wild dog, a large mackerel snake, 4 iguanas, a peacock, and an armadillo or tattoo. I was surprised at the collection of animals. Now, Dora, which of the monkeys are you giving me? None of them there, she said. I have a nice little one in the cage over there. Dora pointed out to a separate cage in which there was a little howler monkey. It seemed pitiful. You like him? I hesitated. We promised Mama Zulu a monkey, and I must fulfill that promise. It was part of the agreement. Yes, I will take him, I said. Now let me go and get the rum and cigarettes for you. In the meantime, you fix him up. I left to get the items for Dora. I returned and gave Dora the money, rum and cigarettes. She brought the cage with the monkey and placed him in the tray of the van. She covered the cage and gave me some bananas for the little animal. That monkey does eat anything, said Dora, even roti too. Now don't let the police see you with that thing, you know. They could charge you, warned Dora. Thanks, Dora. I headed towards home, leaving Dora to drink her punch and rum and smoke cigarettes with her old man. Ma and Cathy were waiting for me at home. Where were you all the time? Asked Cathy, looking worried. Oh, were you worried about me, my sweet little sugar plum? I smiled and she smiled. Mama went inside. Cathy nearly bit me and I ran. I brought something that is bite, I said calmly. And what did you bring? She asked. Come and see, I said, and uncovered the cage in the van. A monkey. Oh, a monkey from Mama Zulu. Yes. I am going to Maruga tomorrow to deliver this monkey and the olive oil. And I am going too, she said. Any objections? No, babes, I said, none whatsoever. That monkey looks cute, said Cathy. Does he really bite? Don't know, I said, but don't put your finger in the cage. I took the cage from the van and rested it on a table downstairs. The little creature was in constant motion in his cage. I opened the cage door and was about to put a banana for him when he grabbed it from my hand, held it with his front limbs, tore off the peel with his teeth, and began to eat the sweet stuff. Cathy was looking on at his actions. Poor thing, she observed. He's hungry and has lost his mama. Okay, I shall end there. I know the time is running out. So I shall end with this little short extract from my book, The Big Fisherman, a Mayaro Love Story, and a Monkey from Mama Zoo. Thank you all for listening so carefully. And good afternoon.
Thank you, Harry. Any comments? Please unmute. Most of us are muted.
Okay, Harry, I'm trying to remember what animal exactly is what is called the wild dog.
My volume has gone very low. I'm not hearing too well.
Okay, I was trying to remember what animal exactly we call the wild dog. Okay, Gushev, Harry not here. Let's move along.
Okay, no problem. All right, Cassie,
Yes.
please turn on your
don't know
camera
what-
if you can.
Sorry?
Are you able to turn on your camera?
Well, I saw it come on earlier on. It doesn't usually come on on my laptop. Well, it's not coming on now again. So that was just 1 in a million.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, when I'm on my laptop, I don't get. Well, I think I have to get it fixed or something.
No
I'm
problem.
wondering if I should read a poem at all because stories all afternoon. I don't want to spoil that.
Cassie behavior.
Stories all afternoon, man. I wanna, let's keep it like that. When the video comes out, there's a story Sunday. I don't have any stories that I want to read. So.
Well, Cassie, how about you find a poem? We'll move along to Frank, and you
Yes,
close us
Cassie,
off.
your poem.
I have poems here already in front of me,
Okay, great. So let's hear one of your poems then.
Well, actually, it's not my poem. It's by H.E. Seeley. I think we all know who that is.
Harry.
Harry.
Yeah, that poem was the winner of the Poetry Day competition 1989 in Dominica. And it was published in the New Chronicle, but I am reading it from Anson Gonzalez's The New Voices, page 14. And it's titled Song of Ourselves.
When I communicated with Harry Seeley about 2 weeks ago, he was in Dominica.
Yeah, I think that's the land of his birth. I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but
yes, it is.
right. So the Song of Ourselves, this poem is called, and he won the Poetry Day competition in 1989 in Dominica. The Song of Ourselves is as sometimish as the waves, or the slipping away of the sun over a distant horizon. It's the hubbub of a crowd, their cries of responsibility, and their deafening voice of desires. The song of ourselves is from the lyrics of others. It's their taboos, their lives and times, their words and worlds, their toys and joys. The song of ourselves knows no boundaries, defines no geographical definitions, and conforms to no one ideology. The song of ourselves cries out, reaches out, and across cultural imperialization, one voice, different noise, same lyrics, we find in the lyrics of others, the song of ourselves. And I'll read another one here, back to back. It's called My Own Tongue. It's written by a poet called H.A. Gibbs de Pisa, also printed in a different volume of the New Voices. And it says, broken English. What are you telling me at all? I don't talk no broken English, boy. So besides, when I talking, that I know England language. What I have is my own language, my own baggage. The two things just are the same. My tongue have identity and it have name. What name? Creole. And don't get fooled up. Creole is not no English that break up. It have roots from Europe, Africa, and England. But it's in the Caribbean land that it really born. Structure, it have that. Sentence pattern, that too. Boy, what do you? My language done in book, do them linguistic making it a study. It have its own style and its own vocabulary. They even learning about it in university. And just how English have standard, Creole have it too. So my tongue is a language for truth. Don't mind some people I want to recognize my speech. Yes, that's it. Yeah, 2 different volumes of the New Voices, which was published and edited by Anson Gonzalez. The The New Voices, a journal for the promotion of creative writing. And I just want to put a little plug here coming up. I think it might happen before the end of the year. I had mentioned that I'm part of an anthology that is going to come out. I think it's called Poetic Gems. I'm not sure if the title is finalized as yet. Quite very bold and brilliant poems in it, if I may say so myself, you know, about 12 poets, including myself. And it's going to be sold at around $100 per copy. So that prepare your $100. I will have 10 copies. I may have 15 copies, I think I'll have, and prepare yourselves for that. Thank you.
Thank you for reading, Cassie. Yes, one of our initiatives for the month of December is going to try to be promoting books from local authors and connecting people as to where to buy them, because right now, to get it at a main store, you don't really see it. I believe paper-based most of the times is where you really have to go. So trying to give our audience other sources to get their material out there. We're going to go ahead to Frank. Frank, kindly unmute, and we are closing with you today.
Okay, this is my new book. It's called Love Has Two Moons, and it's available on Amazon. And it's a book of one novella and 3 short stories. The 3 of the stories, including the novella, takes place in Trinidad. The last story is about an Indian boy from Trinidad who wanted to get married to this white girl in Saskatchewan in Canada way back in 1964. So it was quite rural, and the racist father of the girl disowned her. And in fact, he even had a mock funeral for her and considered her dead. But she went ahead and got married to this Indian boy. So that's it. That's what's going on before. And the couple had this beautiful little child. She's now 8 years old. And the father of the girl, the racist father of the girl, and the mother, they have come finally after 8 years. They have decided to visit and see their grandchild for the first time. And there is a reason why they have changed their mind, but I wouldn't go into the reason. I don't want to spoil the story for whoever is going to read it. But I'm going to read the section where he is meeting the grandchild for the first time after 8 years. The wife's name is Jean, and his name is Lloyd Kaminsky. So here we go. Jean, they're approaching the home of the couple, the East Indian boy and the girl. Jean was ushered into the living room after tears were shed and the hugging completed. Attention was shifted to Lloyd, still sitting in the car outside, like constipated stool unable to disimpact. The station wagon was akin to the situation was akin to an impasse. I thought, was he going to sit there for the duration of the birthday party? Just then, while there was debate among the adults inside as to how to handle the situation, little Laura slipped out and walked briskly down the walkway. I ran over to the front door and kept an eye on her, being concerned for her safety. I wanted to see what she was going to do. Little Laura, was decked out in her lovely pink frilly birthday dress and was made up ever so immaculately. Her long blonde hair was held back by a one-piece headwear hairpin studded with pearls. Her gray-blue eyes reflected bluer in the bright sunshine. "Hi, sir," she addressed Lloyd through the passenger window. "Are you my grandpa?" Lloyd seemed to be taken aback by this pretty cutie and her sweet melodic voice. His hardened heart seemed to melt and become pulpy. Fighting tears, he looked straight ahead and grasped the steering wheel, tight-knuckled. He pursed his lips, locking his true emotions. He didn't respond. Sir, Mr. Kaminsky, Grandpa, please say something, Laura said. Just then, Laura, to my consternation, decided to leave the sidewalk and go around to the traffic side of the car, close to the driver's window, with oncoming cars zooming past. Lloyd was startled. He shouted, Laura, honey, stay, don't, come on this side, stay there, get back. He swiftly exited over the passenger seat to the right, but when he jumped out onto the sidewalk to go after Laura, his right foot set down unevenly on the concrete edge of the sidewalk, and he twisted his ankle. He fell down and abraded his knee. Seen below the short pants, the rent in the skin was superficial, but he was on blood thinners and it bled profusely. Laura, startled by the bleeding knee, ran to him, grabbed his arms and attempted to help him up. Lloyd stood up and Laura knelt down and administered the only treatment she knew. She kissed the bleeding knee better. She looked up, her pink lips covered with blood, and crying, she said, does that feel better, Mr. Kaminsky? Lloyd dissolved into tears. Don't call me Mr. It's Grandpa. Call me Grandpa. And with that, he lifted her off the ground and hugged her tightly with his eyes wrinkled closed, his eyelids drawn and puckered like a purse string as he tried to hold tears back. So that was the meeting after 8 years and having never seen the granddaughter.
Wow, an emotional read. Any comments?
That was really a lovely story. I am happy that I stood down so that we could have get Frank's story. Frank, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward for you to be sharing with us. And Vilma, we're looking forward for you to be keep on coming and sharing with us. Okay. Before we close, I just want to inform people that next month we'll be having on the 11th, we'll be doing our Christmas special and also our author of the month, poet of the month in this case. Actually, he writes poetry and prose. We'll be highlighting the work of Dr. Johnny Kumar Singh, and his book is 15 poems and stories. So I'd be sending stories to everybody, well, to as much as I could, so that we could do this Christmas special and at the same time highlight Johnny Kumar Singh's work. So I just put in you all on notice. So by Wednesday, Thursday, I'll be sending out stories. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Rishabh, take it away.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today, and this brings us to the close of our session. Thank you so much. It was a delightful evening. I couldn't think of a better way of spending a rainy Sunday. Krishna?
Okay, bye. No, I'm just saying bye.
Bye.
Lunch. I have to go.
Frank.
I have to go for
Bye,
lunch.
Before we go, I
Madam,
just want to make one
watch
more
that.
comment.
Madam, go get vexed with me now.
Well, Chris, I thought you got to church already.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make one more comment, Chris.
Yeah.
I see that you get a lot of you had discussed reading that story with me before, but I see that we have a lot of favorable comments about the story. So take heart and thanks.
Okay.
Hi, Frank.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cheryl. Bye,
Thank you
Phil.
all for giving me the chance. Thank you
Bye,
so
Phil.
much.
Thank you. Hope to see you again.
Thank you. I will try.
Wilma, I'll be sending you a poem to read on our next thing. So if you
I
are no
wish-
escaping, you have to be here.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Hi,
Bye.
signing off.